Hello, my name is Samantha Riley, and today I'm going to talk to you about whether it's possible or desirable to improve an organisation's performance through training and development. I'm going to start off by giving you an overview of what training and development is, and talking about the methods organisations use to train their employees. I'll also talk about the advantages and disadvantages of training, analysing whether training is deemed beneficial or detrimental to an organisation's performance. Similarly, I will also discuss the implications of training and whether it does or doesn't work for an organisation. Finally, I'll conclude my argument by addressing whether training is a possible or a desirable strategy for improving business performance. So, what is training and development? Training and development within organisations can actually be described as an ongoing process for teaching and developing an individual's skills, knowledge and competences. The term human capital describes the skills, education, training, experiences an individual possesses. So therefore it's important for an organisation to make the necessary human capital investments to maximise the efficiency of their staff. Well-trained employees improve the capability of an organisation. If employees are obviously kept up to date with new products, systems and techniques, then they can play an active role in helping the organisation achieve its goals. By investing in employee training, a company can strengthen its primary human resources. Obviously, individuals tend to be more organised and motivated and confident about the services they're providing. Maslow sees the goal of learning as self-actualisation. So this perspective obviously emphasises how organisations can assist employees in reaching their full potential. Effectively managing learning is about measuring the efficiency of current performance as well as developing knowledge and future value. Before an organisation can actually develop a training programme, you must consider all 4 stages of the training cycle. Firstly, businesses have to assess the training needs. They can do this by analysing human capital, so obviously the skills that employees already have and any previous training that's taken place. So obviously once they've established this need, they can then move on to the second stage of the process, which is planning. This involves obviously deciding the type of training that they want to do and how they want to deliver it. Obviously during the planning stage, employees must take individual learning styles into consideration. So as Honey and Mumford identified, individuals learn in different ways. So some obviously prefer learning by doing, whereas others prefer listening and observing. Therefore, it's important that the organisation designs training programmes that incorporate and recognise the different learning styles so they can actually appeal to all. The third stage of the process is the implementation stage, so obviously conducting and overseeing the training. Finally, once the training session has been completed, it's important to evaluate the process and its outcomes, obviously gathering participant feedback. In this way, the organisation can then determine whether the training was feasible enough to conduct again in the future. There are actually a number of different training methods for delivering the training. It can either be conducted by a member of staff internally or externally through a professional delivering a training programme. The choice of training is divided in 3 broad categories. So you've got the trainer-centred training, the learner-centred training and the coaching. So trainer-centred training gives the trainer control over the pace and content and typically includes methods like workshops, role plays, presentations. Whereas on the other hand, the learner-centred training gives the learner control and generally involves the use of books, journals, self-study. So in contrast to this, obviously coaching is a method that allows the trainer and learner to establish a partnership whereby they equally have shared control over decisions. Training is obviously a vital part of the overall learning process, so although it is recognised that 80% of our learning comes from experience and work itself, whereas only 20% comes from off-the-job events. So obviously this shows that the motivation is an important element of learning. If an employee doesn't value the new content in which they're being taught, then obviously they're less likely to retain the information and then transfer the skills to the workplace. There are actually several reasons behind why training can improve organisational performance. The most obvious advantage to training is the fact that employees feel valued, so they become more competent within their roles, and this obviously increases staff morale, motivation and overall productivity. Similarly, obviously, well-trained members of staff also enjoy their job, so they're less likely to leave and take their tacit knowledge with them. Effective training obviously empowers employees. They feel more confident to carry out the tasks asked of them. So, for example, in the licensing of pubs, employees need to be trained on the compliance of not serving underage customers. So if they do not ask for ID or to check somebody who looks underage and they sell them alcohol, then both the employee and employer could be fined. So therefore it's the company's best interest to provide staff training. Training can also be advantageous in terms of waste reduction, the prevention of accidents. For instance, with the employment law, the Health and Safety at Work Act imposes a duty to all employees to ensure the welfare of their staff. So obviously health and safety training must be covered with all employees on their first day of employment. Obviously as a result, employers are then knowledgeable of what to do in the event of a fire or emergency. Additionally, obviously, the government also realise the benefits of training on organisational performance, so they've actually set up several training initiatives like MVQs, Train to Gain and Investors in People to help foster economic success within the UK. So they actually believe the development of human capital is fundamental for establishing economical, successful organisations. Obviously, after all, a more qualified workforce increases the organisation's competitiveness. It helps to reduce unemployment, and it also develops the nation's skills. This obviously then reinforces the fact that the people are an organisation's greatest asset. Training allows companies to build skills and knowledge into the organisation through their workforce. Obviously, consequently, investing time and money into employee training results in high profits, increased competitive advantage, productivity and performance. Okay, so despite the obvious advantages of training, disadvantages are also evident, and these obviously could potentially impact performance. So one of the major downsides to training is the cost, which is why obviously when times are hard, training budgets always seem to have the first cutback. However, if the organisation has an asset-orientated way of thinking, they'll view training as an investment in their employees, which will in turn have a future payoff. Although on-the-job training, like learning from a colleague is free, it can, however, have an impact on organisational performance. The employee providing the training obviously is prevented from doing their usual tasks, so this impacts the deadlines and obviously raises the issue of lost work time. Likewise, within informal training, another colleague can also be deemed ineffective, as the trainee could potentially learn their faults as well as good practices. Another disadvantage to training is the concern about staff loyalty. Once some employees try and better themselves by leaving and joining another company, obviously it's important that organisations lay down contractual rules relating to training. So for instance, if they take a fund, the organisation must state that if they leave within 2 years, they must pay a certain percentage of their course fees. Understanding a company's performance strategy is important to the trainer, because training must be designed to support organisational performance. In some instances, employees are expected to learn how to distribute quality, quantity and cost savings. One of the reasons why training activities do not always deliver the benefits expected of them is a failure to correctly identify what performance is required. So obviously ineffective planning does not only make training seem like a waste of time and money, but it can also negatively impact employee self-esteem. So they might believe that it's their fault they're not being able to grasp the training, or in actual fact it could actually be the trainer's disorientation, and this is obviously it caused its failure. So it's important to identify the different learning styles. This error could obviously have a detrimental effect on performance and productivity levels. Low employee morale and motivation could in turn have negative impact on the performance. So obviously human errors like these provide an explanation as to why training might work in one organisation and not another. Some organisations encourage a learning culture where ongoing training is supported. Within these learning organisations, people are encouraged to regularly learn through self-study. Although this may seem more cost-effective, some employees may prefer social interaction formal training programmes provide. So in conclusion, training and development as a HRM strategy has been explored. Process for assessing the need for training has been identified. and obviously the minor neglect of individual training needs can lead to underperforming employees and therefore subsequently poor organisation performance. The methods for delivering training have also been discussed, and the importance of retaining information through motivation has been highlighted. So obviously, again, the advantages and disadvantages of training have been analysed, and the ways in which training can improve or impact performance have been probed. So overall, training and development has the potential to improve an organisation's performance. Human capital investment can maximise the efficiency of employees, making them feel valued. So after all, more efficient the workforce, the better the levels of productivity. Thank you for listening.